Hello everyone, welcome to the course on Construction Management and Entrepreneurship for 5th semester VTU students. Today in this session, we'll be starting with module number 2, which is Resource Management. In today's session, we will understand the basics of resource management. Resource. A resource is a necessary asset whose main role is to help carry out a certain task or a project. A resource can be a human resource, a financial resource, a product to be sold or obtained, skills, technology, information, elements for production, or time. In most projects require many different type of resources in order to be completed. Resource management. Resource management is an element of project management which deals with resources. Careful management of resources leads to the path of project success. However, mismanagement of resources can lead to project failure, overtime, budget, overages, and other unfortunate events. Resource planning. Every project plan have a resource plan as its component. The resource plan contains all the aspects of the project from beginning to end that pertain to resources required. Resource breakdown structure. Breaking down the resources required to complete the project in a hierarchical manner similar to that of the work breakdown structure. Resource allocation. Resource allocation is nothing but allocation of the resources to the task in a fair and balanced manner. Resources must be used to the maximum capacity for the minimum amount of cost. Resource overallocation. Overallocation of a resource is when a resource has been assigned more work than can be completed during normal work hours. Resources allocation often leads to overtime and overspending of financial resources. Resource leveling. Leveling resources involves redistribution of imbalance of allocated work. Resource leveling assess project manager by keeping their team members from working overtime. Now we will look into the class of laborers in construction. Laborers can be divided into different categories such as carpentry works, masonry work, RCC and steel work, painting work, electrical work, plumbing and sanitary work, etc. Now, under carpentry work, laborers can be divided into shuttering carpenter, furniture carpenter, wood polisher, carpenter helper, masonry work, concrete helper. Under masonry work, laborers can be subdivided into concrete mason, mason helper, blockwork and plaster mason, tiling mason, marble mason, etc. Under RCC and steel work, labor can be subdivided into rebar fabricator, rebar helper, etc. Under painting, we have painter and painter helper. Under electrical works, we have electrician, cable joiner, cable layer, electrical helper, etc. Under plumbing and sanitary work, we have plumber, pipe fitter, plumber helper, etc. Under mechanical trades, we have fitter, mechanic, welder, AC mechanic, sheet fabricator, diesel mechanic, auto electrician, petrol mechanic, mechanic helpers, and riggers. Under drivers and operators, we have light vehicle drivers, heavy vehicle drivers, equipment operators. Under administration and staff, we have office helper, medical helper, security staff, cook, janitor, tailor, mass helper, laundryman, etc. Now we will look into wages and some of the statutory requirements for labor in construction. First of all, we will understand what is wage. Wage is a monetary payment made by the employer to his employee, usually laborers, for the work done or services rendered. Wages are paid either in the form of time rate or piece rate on weekly, daily, or in hourly basis. Wages must be paid on an industry wise and regional basis, having due regards to the financial capacity of the company. Salary. Salary refers to the monthly rate of pay irrespective of the number of hours put by the employee. Wages and salaries are subject to the annual increments, and they differ from employee to employee and depend upon the nature of job, seniority, and merit. Now we will look into methods of wage payment. There are basically three type of wage system that is available: time wage system, piece wage system, and balance method. Now we will understand each one of them one by one. Time wage system. The wages are paid according to the time spent by the worker irrespective of the quantity of work done. Piece wage system. Wages are paid based on the output and not on time. A fixed rate is paid for each unit that has been produced. And the last one is the balance method. It is a combination of time as well as piece rate system. The workers has to produce these many units within the given stipulated time. Minimum wage. Minimum wage is the wage that is able to provide only the bare physical need of the laborer. The minimum wage may be defined as the lowest wage necessary to maintain a worker and his family at a minimum level of subsistence, which includes food, clothing, and shelter. The minimum wage must be paid irrespective of the extent of profits and the financial condition of the company or the availability of workers at lower wages. Living wage. Living wage is that which workers can maintain the health and decency, a measure of comfort and some insurance against the more important misfortune of life. Living wage is defined as a wage sufficient to ensure the workman food, shelter, clothing, frugal comfort, provision for evil days, etc., as regard for the skill of an artisan if he is one. A living wage must be fixed considering the general economic conditions of the country. Next we have is fair wage. A fair wage lies between the minimum wage and the living wage. The lower limit of fair wage must be the minimum wage, and the upper limit of is the capacity of the industry to pay fair wage, comparing with the average payment of similar tasks in other companies or occupations. Now we will look into some of the statutory requirement for laborers. Labor regulative legislation. Under this we have Trade Unions Act of 1926, Industrial Disputes Act 1947, Industrial Employment Act 1946. Under labor protective legislations we have Factories Act 1948, Shops and Establishment Acts. Under labor wage related legislations we have Payment of Wages Act 1936, Minimum Wages Act 1948, Payment of Bonus Act 1965. Under labor social security legislations we have Workmen's Compensation Act 1923, Employees PF and Miscellaneous Provisions Act 1952, Maternity Benefit Act 1961, Payment of Gratuity Act 1972. Under labor welfare legislations we have Limestone and Dolomite Mines Labor Welfare Fund Act 1972, the Mica Mines Welfare Fund Act 1946, the Iron Ore Mines, Manganese Ore Mines and Chrome Ore Mines Labor Welfare Fund Act 1976, the Sign Worker Welfare Fund Act 1981, BD Worker Welfare Fund Act 1976. Under miscellaneous labor legislations we have the Contract Labor Act 1970, Child Labor Prohibition and Regulation Act 1986, Building and Other Construction Worker Act 1996, Apprentice Act 1961, Immigration Act 1983, Employment Exchange Act 1959, Interstate Migrant Worker Act 1979, Sales Promotion Employees Act 1976, Working Journalists and Other Newspaper Employee Act 1950. That's it for today's session. Thank you very much.